Good evening, everyone. Uh, my name is Sashidhar. Welcome to today's session. Today, we are going to talk about social media, new media technologies, and the role the social media is playing in the development sector. Uh, Due to some technical issues, the speaker it is taking a couple of minutes time for the speaker to join. In the meantime, I will introduce the topic to you, uh, and then we can continue with the discussion. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Sashidhar. I'm a faculty at the Azim Prem University, Bangalore campus. I teach in the School of Development. I'm a faculty in the MA Development program. And once the speaker joins, I'll introduce the speaker as well. Why are we interested in social media? Social media, I mean, if we trace the roots of trace the roots in terms of relationship, if we have to establish the relationship between media and social sector, largely it has its roots in the communicative dimension. Whatever work that social sector organizations keep doing, whatever work that different grassroots advocacy organizations keep doing, one key element of their work is to communicate with different stakeholders. How do they communicate with the stakeholders? If we trace the history of communication and connect it to social media, I mean, connect it to the current times, we want to connect it to the current times. Uh, all grassroots organizations or all civil society organizations have been using different forms of media. Uh, I'm sure all of us have consumed content which has come, the content which has come in forms of pamphlets, in form of posters, in the form of advertisements, and various other television ads. I'm sure we all would have seen various advertisements put forward by civil society organizations, so on and so forth. Why have we kept these? I mean, why are we using these different platforms? Uh, we use these different platforms to communicate what we are doing. I mean to say the social sector organizations, what they are doing to different stakeholders. Generally, when the central idea of communication is that we, based on our work, we generate a message, and we want the message to be conveyed to different audience, and we want those audience to respond and react to whatever we are saying. We want us to respond to the work that we are doing. For example, we would have seen various advertisements put forward by civil society organizations, social sector organizations, uh, when they are talking about fundraising. That is one way, and we also look at uh, different communication material generated by civil society organizations or social sector organizations, which are operational in the development space, which talk about sensitizing people or educating people on various development issues. We have been seeing uh, this communication platform. I mean, we've been seeing the usage of this communication mediums ever since the ever since the existence of social sector organizations have been there. As we evolved, as we grew, different mediums have replaced the earlier forms of medium. As we grow, uh, civil society organizations have started first using the social media platforms. And these social media platforms have now become a central piece in the entire communication strategy of various social sector organizations. Today, our discussion is about how this social media and new media technologies are actually are actually helping various social sector organizations in telling a compelling stories about their work, especially to stakeholders who are part of the current ecosystem. I mean, who are when we say stakeholders, we are talking about immediate stakeholders as well as stakeholders at different levels. So, for one example that I can talk about is how various social sector organizations are using WhatsApp or other mediums to communicate with the communities with whom they are working, as well as they are also using the same platforms to communicate with the stakeholders, external stakeholders like various policymakers as well as donor organizations. Uh, so today's conversation is about how various social media platform, I mean various civil society organizations or social sector organizations are actually using the potential of uh, social media platforms. For that, we have Adil Hussain, who is also a faculty member at Azim Premji University. He will be who is a faculty member at Azim Premji University. He teaches along with me in the MA development program in the Bangalore campus. He holds a doctoral degree from Oxford University in international development. His current research is on popular media and social media and political discourse. He would, for the next 40-45 minutes, he would be sharing his academic research as well as his experience as a journalist, and how use this experience to talk about the social media and its potential and its usage in the development sector. Over to you, Adil.
Thanks so much, Sashi. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So thanks so much and welcome to this webinar. We are very happy that you have joined us with this exciting talk on this particular issue. Um, Most importantly, we know that today social media has impacted our life, and especially in our classroom, whenever I meet my students, and usually I usually ask the, um, I usually ask the first thing that what's their source of information? Where do you go for your source of information? And sadly, in my classroom, rarely they speak about newspaper, rarely they talk about television, and they say that in today's days and time, they are mostly getting their news from either Instagram Reels, or they are getting from Twitter, or they are getting from LinkedIn. So social media has impacted our life, and especially people in the development sector that has, I think, adopted with the changing media. Now, the relationship between social media and the development sector has always been about uh, uh, promoting the issues at a broader level. Historically, people who are working for Jal Jangal Zameen, or people who are working for some social movement, working on women issues, gender justice, they have often looked for media to popularize their ideas, and social media somehow impacted that space quite a lot. We have also seen that there are two ways to study social media. One is to bottom to top, and another is the top to bottom. And in both the approach, we see that social media has somehow changed our ability to communicate with different stakeholders. Now, when I'm talking about approach which is top to bottom, we know that historically, development sector, the way it emerged after the Second World War, and especially it emerged as a state project, especially in the countries in the global south, we know that traditional media, or I will call newspaper, or I'll call television or radio, that has always been used by the state forces or our government to specially talk about the broader development discourse. Especially, we know very popular program like Krishi Darshan. We know very popular program which was related to, you can say, talking about social issues. And often these media outlets have often been used for this kind of messaging. On the other hand, in the development sector, when we see that there was criticism of this top to bottom approach of the development narrative being which came from the state, and somehow it was basically received people as some kind of a receiver. Or sometime the criticism was that these messages came from big development institutions like United Nations or World Bank, and people were merely receiver. Then we know that different kind of new ideas of development came, like participatory development, community development, or we know that the ideas of sustainable development. And we started to say that people need to participate more in the development process. So a bottom to top approach kind of emerged, where we started to say that people has to be the center of the development. The development will not be something that will be merely received from the top, but people will have their voice to shape up the narratives of development. And in that case, we see that that the ICT, or information and communication technology, played a major role. And in ICT, they started to play a major role, especially in giving people voices. And it gave people, and it gave voices in different ways. So we know the ideas that with the idea of participatory development and community development, we started to see that there are ideas of community radio that emerge. We know that small newspapers emerge. We know that different forms of local storytelling was kind of take center stage. And in this regard, we find that when new media technologies arrived at the scene, and new media technology, there are different phases that I would like you to focus on. In case of new media technology, there are few phases that has been greatly, you can say, that change the way we perceive our information today. The phases were, of course, the Web 1.1, which is basically the invention of the internet. And with internet at the time, there were basic websites like, there were Yahoo, or there were some other Google, some basic website where only the creator will make a domain. And in creator, you will find that some person will create the information, and that information will be spread across through that particular website. That was the Web 1.0, and that played a major role at that time. Then came the Web 2.0. This is the time when you see that the blogs blogs emerge, where basically here they will not only be creator but also participant in the process of creating information on the internet. So they will not be just website, but the blogspot and all these ideas, that people could comment, and there will be a dialogic process. So people would write their blogs, and in the comment section, you can respond to them. And this is when you find so many people who became famous just by writing blogs. And it emerged, you can say, within 2003, 2004 at that time. So Web 1.0 dominated from 1996 to 2003, 2004. Then came the Web 2.0. And then you find that a new era after that came, you can say after 2013, 2014, where we are finding that not only people will respond to websites, but people will be the creator of information. And this is the era of, you will find that the different kind of social networking websites come. Initially, the websites were Orkut. Many of you possibly remember, or there was a famous social media website called Orkut. Then comes Facebook, then come MySpace, then come Yahoo 360. Different kind of websites that emerge in our life. And they basically start, I will come later on the TikTokification of the internet. But before that, this idea of Web 3.0 totally changed. And there we find that there are two ideas that become very important. One was the concept of the social networking sites. Okay, what is then social networking sites? In this idea, the social networking sites are, you will be in a, you can say that you will be in a networked algorithm. What is the networked algorithm? That you will basically create the information. You will basically create the information. And in that case, you will choose the network of your choice. So in Facebook, you don't like your parents to be on the friends, you don't accept their friend request. So you basically create a network of your own in that case. And it is mainly the idea is this, that here you have some kind of agency and some kind of to choose what your network will be. And in that case, the networked algorithm will decide your flow of information as well. You only like to see the updates from your friends. You don't want to see any news. You don't want to see anything in the world, but only those information. So the social networking websites, Facebook and LinkedIn, then at the time other also websites come. Then of course comes the idea of social media. Now social media of course is where you are not only producer of the media. At the time many people also started, when the web 2.0 came, the idea of citizen journalism also emerged. People, I remember people were at the time 2005 Right to Information Act came. Many people were filing RTI Act and they were just publishing their RTI responses on a website by creating a blogspot, a blog website of their own. And what they created was a resource, was an archive of information with regard to how to file an RTI, what kind of RTI you can file in this particular office, in panchayat or in municipality office, and how these different government also responded to them. And you basically, people started to scan it and started to post it. But at the same time, then with the social networking website like Facebook and others, these different kind of activists, different kind of social, you can say community campaigners, they started to participate, and they started to participate with other people as well through the social networking websites. And that's how they started to make, you can say, a community campaigner, basically a political community, where the rights, the concept of the rights started to emerge from the bottom to top approach. Now, in this case, we also know that how at different stages the next comes, which is that today we have entered the era of the influencers. Now, era of the influencers, what we know, that people are not only networking with people, but there is some kind of a algorithmic knowledge, a knowledge that is produced around the concept of the algorithm. Okay. And of course here sometimes you are very much surprised that, sometimes you say that, oh my god, the Instagram really knows me well, it is only giving me those reels which I really want to see. And sometimes you see that, oh, why I'm watching a cringe video on my Instagram or on my YouTube. I totally possibly would not like something like a cringe here, but still it is on my feed. So in that case, as you can see that this is the era of what we call the TikTokification of the internet. Now, in the TikTokification of the internet, which basically the model was to create very attractive initially the TikTok basically said that we will only produce a video content of a certain seconds, not even minutes, and you can add music to that. That basically particularly changed, and they basically understood that we will play with human attention, and through this the concept of virality and this concept of these how different kind of reels that emerge. And today we know that YouTube also have reels. Today Instagram also of course became very much pioneer with reels. Right now even WhatsApp is thinking, by the way, for reels. So soon you will have in your WhatsApp reels which will be integrated with your WhatsApp as well. Maybe the experience will not be good, but it will be there. So now, coming back to the concept of the social media. The concept of the social media is that you are not only producer of the content, but you are also can reach any people in the world. Okay, so let's imagine that you have a public Instagram account and you are producing some kind of a narrative on the local RTI or local roads. You are in that case, anyone can access your information. Here, you are using that as a social media. But let's imagine that you have made a private account and you are only approving people who you want to approve, and you don't want your content to be public. In that case, you are using it as a social network as well. So you can imagine that how these different mediums have emerged with different ideas, and how it can be, and how it basically impact our the way we famous statement there is by Marshall McLuhan is the medium is the message, that your medium is basically deciding the content of your message. Now, another important part that we have to decide with regard to social media is the question of technological determinism. Now, what is technological determinism means? Technological determinism means that you think that, somehow as a human, we have no agency. It's basically our Instagram that is deciding how the community will look like. It is basically, because of the Instagram and YouTube, my son and daughters are wearing this kind of a dresses. Because of YouTube and Instagram, the people are behaving this way. They are becoming antisocial. So you are somehow giving so much primacy to the technology itself. The technology is deciding the social behavior. So there is so much study about that as well, because it basically, if you give so much primacy to this kind of a narrative, that the technology alone deciding all the social factors, that there is that social movement or your basically complaint doesn't have enough role to play, and the government or the private corporation can basically intervene at the algorithmic level and change your desire, change your create commodity fetishism. Everything can be created by the technology itself. Then of course we are giving very little role to human agency itself. And that's why I want to give you the example of that why we take selfie, and what is the role of selfie in our life. And here I would like to quote a famous anthropologist from University College London called Daniel Miller. You can Google the name Daniel Miller. He was associated with University College London, and he created a very famous study of selfies, that why people take selfies. Now, he made a study throughout the world. He approached different researchers in places like India, Japan, in Brazil, in other countries of Latin America, in Western Europe. And he basically wanted to study that what is the use of selfie and why people take it. And you will be surprised to know that even the way you take selfie, there is a very interesting connection can be made with the development discourse as well. So Daniel Miller found, after doing a very intensive 15-month of fieldwork, that selfies can be used very differently. And that's why I said that it can challenge technological determinism. So what happened that in the Western Europe, they found that people basically want to take selfies more with friends. That was the study that came. The people rarely will click with that they would like to say that, I went out with friends, I did this, but usually with the arms around a friend. The idea is this, that somehow the society has created, with all of the institutions and all of the way you can say that the late stage capitalism there have created a form of our loneliness. And in that sense, a loneliness, there is with also Thatcherism, you can say there is a destruction of community feeling. And that lack of community feeling has created some form of loneliness, lack of community spaces and others. So people want to see that they have someone who can take care of them in times of crisis. They somehow primarily giving them the idea of the value. Now, how selfie is used in a very different context. Let's take you to the country of Brazil. In Brazil, in the favelas, when Daniel Miller studied that why people take selfies, he found at the time, and this is a study, by the way, in 2018, he found that in Brazil's favelas, people are basically taking photographs or selfies to show, and they are not shy to tell that they are poor, and they are taking their photos in the slums, and they are clicking their photos with bad sewage lines, so they are clicking photos with bad houses, and somehow to make claims on the municipal commission, municipality, or on the state themselves, that look, you are responsible for these welfare rights, but you are not doing that. And though they are clicking these selfies together as an individually, but the way they are using the hashtags, they are creating a hashtag community, and they are making a kind of a rights claim, a possibly claim on the state. And you know that if you read the anthropology or social science paper, you find that in Brazil, in the favelas, there are concepts of insurgent citizenship from below, where people are basically making claim on the state, and that is reflected. So the social movement in those favelas in Brazil is also reflected in the selfies as well. Okay, so then the question came that what are how people click selfies in India. Now here the study, of course, I can say that there can be many elements that was not taken in the research. Selfies possibly in the rural India will be very different. Selfies in Bangalore will be very different. However, the study was limited to urban or peri-urban areas in India, and here they found that here most of the people are clicking in India the selfies with, if they are buying a new mobile phone or if they are buying a new scooty, or here the idea of selfie somehow became the idea of some kind of a aspirational, somehow the idea, and in 2018 the idea is of to show some kind of a social mobility through some material through some material object, and that became the main idea in that kind of a selfie. So you can see that even the idea of a selfie, where you can say, I think there are enough studies that why there are enough studies on how men and women are using the selfies as well, how even the gender, how the gender is basically it is shaped, how the gender relations are shaped in the society can decide how you're going to use a particular form of technology on your mobile app. That is somehow challenges the technological determinism theory. Also, we know it is very common at the time that how gender relations also uh, treat the way we will gender relations shape the way we use mobile. That who can be addicted to mobile, the addiction, the idea of addiction basically, which is again a major problem. And we understand that the idea of addiction is also connected with how the labor will be distributed in the family or in the community. So if someone, of course, is basically doing some kind of a physical labor or other forms of labor, of course that person would not get addicted to it, or that person or in that case we often found that it is often the male who are getting addicted, often people who are retired or people who are basically have time to kill, okay, have some kind of a stable source of income. In that case we can find that, and most of the time if the woman is doing so much work, care work, not only for the family or extended family, the woman will have less chances uh, to become addicted. So it basically challenges the way, as you can see, that how different forms of addiction is also addiction can be distributed according to the labor is distributed. And then the question comes is the idea of political community. Today we know it is a major question that whether social media has democratized or it has given new forms of domination to the powerful entities in the world. One idea is, of course, people say that, many people are making, today we are talking about that there is a Bahujan public sphere. And earlier also, there were a blog spot that was dedicated to only Dalit literature. There were, you can say, small newspaper that was also dedicated to the particular, you can say, marginalized voices. But today we can find that internet has somehow democratized many of these voices. At the same time, we also find that it is also the time that it has also increased the dominant voices in the society as well. That somehow, if the internet has given voices to the marginalized or people who can be anonymous in their house, but while doing their Instagram scroll, they found their favorite influencers and they started to what we call the technologies of the self, somehow that emerge from the digital media, and somehow the digital media is allowing them to express themselves as they are, or they have a very secret Instagram account or a secret YouTube account through which they are connecting to the world that possibly the village doesn't know about, but they are somehow participating in the larger discussions about that they want to be the member of some form of a specific political community and want to make claims on the state. That is also happening. So democratization is, of course, one big issue that is coming with the social media. However, at the same time, we find that technology is also becoming a form of surveillance, and in many ways. So we find today that in many ways we are finding that workers are being asked that not only you have to do a work, you need to make an account on Twitter, and after doing the work in many actually states, many people are asking the people that at the booth level officers or others that that you have to make a Twitter account, you have to make Instagram account, and not only you have to do the work, but the somehow the agencies are asking people or the workers that you have to showcase the worker to the larger world. So if you're doing a particular work, click a selfie, tag the higher authorities, and through that only we will know that you have done that particular form of work. Okay, without even much training in that case, without even much questions. At this moment, we know that the Data Protection Act doesn't basically protect much of our privacy rights. How and where our digital informations will be used, in what form they will be used, we really don't know. So in that case, the way the digital governance and these the social media applications are somehow coming together, that remains a kind of a challenge. And the way there is an uncritical acceptance that whatever is digital is good, and that digital surveillance is the only form of surveillance. So we are somehow replacing community surveillance with some form of digital surveillance. So that remains a challenge. That remains a challenge in. Remains a challenge with us. Another important, of course, part is, of course, the role of fake news. Now, I want to cover slow, step by step. So, as you can see, that I have covered what is social media, what is social networking, how different forms of, you can say, websites came, the internet technology and those revolutions came, how they were used in different ways, and in what ways you saw that how there is an uncritical acceptance of these different kind of mode. But primarily, I will talk about the question of now the fake news. Now, fake news has remained a very important, you can say, issue of today. Fake news has become a major problem. Earlier, we found that newspapers, whatever came in newspapers, we used to trust them blindly. But right now, we can see instances where something Aztak promoted a fake news, and then India Today has a fact check team. They are fact checking the fake news of the same news organizations. There are instances like that. If you can Google, you will find that. So fake news has become so widespread, and then comes the idea that fake news has become a major problem, especially with regard to social media, with regard to that how people are anything that they are believing, and especially with the artificial intelligence, you can make any video today, and that is creating a major concept of the somehow spreading any fake news today. And especially recently, we know that most of the people, even many senior politicians, declared Dharmendra dead even before he was declared dead, and it has happened because of the many of the Instagram reels and other forms of social media today. But fake news, we have to understand again, we can't divide the way, as I told you, that selfie has a social context that basically explained. I also told you that how digital addiction has a distribution of labor as per the gender relation that can become a factor. In the same way, we can't change fake news. We can't make it divorce it from the social context as well. So certain society will be more prone to fake news, and certain society will not be prone to fake news. And in that case, it is very important to understand what is fake news. Now, fake news are divided mainly between two concepts. One is misinformation, another is the disinformation. The misinformation is something that happens that you basically you said that if you stand outside in the sun, it will cure COVID. We know that many of these kinds of unscientific medicine issues were being spread at the time of the COVID. What happened at the time that you basically find this, someone basically created this, and you send it to 5 other people. That 5 other people send to another 50 other people. Now, those 50 people possibly don't know it is truth or not. They just thought, okay, it must be truth. They basically believed it. So without knowing, they basically spread that particular information. In that case, comes in the category of misinformation. Okay. And another important point comes disinformation. So that standing outside in the sun will not cure COVID. But you thought, okay, this is fun, or I want to spread this, or I believe in this. I believe totally, but what happens that if you know that this is not truth, and despite that, if you are spreading that particular news, then it becomes disinformation. So we have to understand and there are many other studies that basically talks about that how one news can become disinformation at the particular moment, and it can be misinformation at a particular moment. So this becomes very important, how you are distinguishes the difference between the news. Now you may ask that why these concepts are very important in development sector. Why fake news is very important. Now, fake news is very important for the development sector, and especially the way when it mixes up with the digital media and with the artificial intelligence, is because that fake news will spread very much if there is very little trust in the society and very little community verification in that particular society. Also, fake news will spread if you prone to believe. So with regard to fake news, ideology is also important. So let's imagine that you believe in particular ideology, then there is a greater chance that you will basically spread that particular fake news, or you will send that WhatsApp forward more if you believe in certain ideology without doing the necessary verification, because you are biased towards that particular information. Okay, so even if let's imagine that you are talking about a developmental issue, you are talking about possibly a road, or you are talking about pollution, but you are ideologically disposed to certain political party, you will not possibly carry forward that particular news, or you will forward that particular fake news if it is related to that. So that becomes very much important, that whether a social movement exists in that particular society. So let's imagine that there is a social movement about environmental issues in that particular society, or there is a movement around gender justice. Okay, so if there is a movement or a social movement exists around that particular society, or let's imagine that you are part of some kind of a club or society, or some kind of a, you can say, reading group, you will be less prone to spread something away. So it basically again comes back to the social context. In social context you are operating, that will decide somehow the survivability or the spreadability of some kind of a fake news as well. That can totally upend. So sometimes it is not enough that you are doing some kind of an important developmental work, but when you are spreading that particular work, whether there are enough social nodes that are available that basically take your information forward. And in case of, as I said, that to stop a fake news, we always say there must be one person who's ready to do the verification. That person has to say that I will not send it forward, because it goes always in a very you can say, geometric progression. Any fake news always moves ahead in geometric progression. So in this way, we always have to understand that how social context and social movements that the development sector is always engaged in is a very important, you can say, a very important struggle. Recently, I was talking to Alok Shukla, who was part of the Save Hasdeo campaign, and we are talking about how he basically used different kind of media. So he basically said that how he used both traditional media, which is developing relationship, which requires a lot of resources, developing relationship as a different social movement groups. They have to develop long relationships with established media, big media houses, and you have to basically give them, there is a quid pro quo, you have to give them access where you are working, and at the same time your hope is that based on our access, these people will write about whatever the social movement I participated in. Okay, so he said that we have to do, as a social activist, we have to do a mix up of both the world, that we need to rely on the traditional media, and at the same time we have to rely on the new media, because if we are talking, we want to reach to our youth, in that case we are making Instagram reel. And he said that the moment we did an Instagram reel using a local Chhattisgarhi rap, it all of a sudden became viral, and many people started to call us So you can say that how local idioms are also very much important. So if there is, let's imagine that there is some kind of a local idiom that is being very much revived as a kind of a identity, and you are establishing some kind of a relational identity between us and them in the case, sense of some kind of an idea. In that case, new media also. So when I was talking to Alok Shukla, he talked about that how different audience require a different kind of response, and we are doing that. We are doing that in that particular case. So that way, you have to always be very important. That whenever you study social media, and especially its relationship to different concepts like gender, different concepts like caste, different concepts like religion, and especially more importantly, before taking the questions and talking to Sasidhar further, I would like to talk about the concept of citizenship, and especially the concept of the digital citizenship. So one is this concept is this, that we are citizen. Why we are citizen? We have a voter card. Why we are a citizen? Because you say that, I have an Aadhaar card, or I can participate um, in the Gram Sabha meeting, and I can talk about my road, or I can talk about my rights. I can talk about my uh, I can talk about my different forms of rights that comes basic because of the Indian Constitution. But right now, as you can see today, what has happened, that it is not enough that you are a citizens with rights. At the same time, to access rights, you need a mobile phone, and you need a phone that is linked with Aadhaar. So somehow you are already connected to the system. And unless and until you are not connected to the system, you can't even lodge many of the complaints. You want to complain about your electricity, you log in with some another kind of OTP, which is now we have brought somehow. We are in an era where OTP is becoming somehow the idea through which uh, you have to access many of the rights. So somehow, you want it or not, you have become a digital citizen. If you want your connections to work, some kind of a connections to work, the corporates are also asking that you have to act as a digital consumer, right? You are become a good consumer. You have to display a good digital consumerist behavior, and that way only your consumer rights, will be protected. Followingly, as I said, in the digital governance era, the state is also asking you to be that digital citizen. Okay. That unless and until you don't have a phone, you don't have those apps on your phone, sometimes you require those apps. How are you going to access? For a migrant labor, it is very much important that he needs to book the Tatkal ticket to go to his place of destination. How that person will go? Of course, it requires the Tatkal has to be connected with uh, somehow, everything has to be connected with your particularly phone. So this digital citizenship, and this citizenship, whether this question comes again, and I would like my audience to think that whether the rights and responsibility of this digital citizen, is there any agency, or you think that it is somehow being decided just by the medium itself, that the medium of phone and the apps, that is deciding your behavior, the way the different kinds of big companies or our government wants? Or you think that people are also somehow changing or forcing the local people, forcing these entities to change their behavior, and they are responding to it? Okay, that you are becoming the digital citizen the way you want to be. Okay, that you are somehow doing those movements where you are somehow trying to protect your digital rights as well, and you are defining your rights in many new ways. So I have got so many questions, and I would like to take the permission of Shashi in this case to take all those questions first. Or Shashi, or you want to ask what is the format after this?
Thanks, Adil. I have a couple of questions with me, which we have received during the time of registration.
Yeah.
Perhaps one or two questions I will read it out for you, which you have not covered.
Yeah.
in your lecture. Firstly, thank you so much for giving the landscape to our audience of landscape and relevant concepts of social media and new media technologies. And I think this builds on our ongoing discussions in the classroom and outside the classroom with the MA development program and other programs that we offer on communication about how the community, I mean, how different organizations, institutions, and individuals use different medium to communicate with their stakeholders. Perhaps that is what is determining the content and the consistency of the messages that go on. Uh, Adil, one question that perhaps is relevant for us, or perhaps that you did not cover much about, is how the state. I mean, the dimension that you have taken is the state and citizen relationship mediated through digital technologies. Perhaps if you can extend it on citizenship, I mean, technology mediated citizenship and access to welfare, that is one, as well as the communication part, which is fascinating. For example, the research that I've been doing is on the political communication, where how the citizens communicate with the state in terms of their grievances. For example, Twitter has opened up this Ask Me Anything campaigns or Ask Me Anything feature for all politicians to use. Which is quite common that we have been seeing. Likewise, and the other dimension when you were talking about state and surveillance is something that the other issue that has come onto my mind is the recent cancellation of H-1B appointments for Indians, because US government has decided to do a social media scrutiny of all the applicants. Therefore, that also falls in the that's also an extension of the discussion on citizenship mediated through our access to citizenship benefits mediated through social media and digital media platforms, and how state is accessing them. Perhaps it would be great, I mean, it would be helpful for our audience to understand how the technology mediated citizenship is extending into access to welfare, and how various social media platforms, perhaps YouTube, etc., are being used by various content creators to bring up the issues of this access to citizenship to the forefront, to the forefront.
So I would like my audience to basically focus on the concept of citizenship itself. Now, the basic definition of citizenship is basically a membership of a community, or not just community. A community can be basically club, a community can be blood ties, ethnic ties, which is can be, if you are a member of a caste association, that's not possibly citizenship. Okay, if you're a member of some kind of a poetry club, that's not a citizenship. It is a membership of a political community. Okay, what is a political community? A political community basically where your status is equal, where everyone is equal, and at the same time where you have an equal right to change the laws and bylaws of that particular community. That is also very important part of that particular membership. Okay, now citizenship is basically, as you can see, membership of a political community, and this political community can be both India at the national level, there the parliament represent you, okay, and then at the ground level, it is the Gram Sabha or Panchayat that basically represent you, and you are the equal member of that particular political community. So citizenship can be at a very local level and at a very national level. Okay, we usually understand citizenship mainly through nationally. Okay, I'm an Indian citizen, but citizenship as an idea, it can be disaggregated in many ways. Now, citizenship has three elements. One is the civil rights, one is the political rights, and one is the social and economic rights. Okay, so if you are a citizen, you should get three kind of rights: civil rights, the right to speech, okay, the right to get a fair trial. These are the civil rights. There are political rights, that you have a right to vote, okay, you have a right to form political party, and you have a right to form opinion about the political process. Okay, these are the political rights. Okay, and then of course the social and economic rights, which is basically you have the right. I am talking about the definition by famous British sociologist Marshall. Okay, Marshall concept of citizenship. The social and economic rights are that you should leave a basic standard, the standard, whatever the standard living of a particular, which is a living with dignity of that particular society, you have a right to live that. Okay, so that is the definition, that if different society in the world can have very different standard of living with dignity. So you will live that particular life, that is the social and economic rights. Now, we know that these particular rights were how they were mediated earlier. Okay, the earlier they were basically mediated in many ways through different kind of, you can say, village relations, or different kind of, you can say, people, civil society, different kinds of, you can say, big men, different kinds of sometime influential people at the local level, who used to say, okay, you are not getting ration card, I will get you a ration card, I know someone there. Okay, you are not getting your water connection, okay, you do this work for me and I will get this because I have a connection there at that particular level. Somehow the idea was that these rights will be mediated in case of, basically in India, the post-colonial, you can say, in these post-colonial democracies, the idea that these very big influential people, based on certain form of political support, they will basically provide you these different forms of rights. The digital landscape, however, the digital media landscape is slowly changing that process. And that's why it is very much threatening as well. So sometimes what you find one journalist exposing that, and that's why this Twitter and everything becomes very important, because here all the powerful ministers and powerful bureaucrats are there in Twitter, and many of the activists or many of the others, and the concept of the virality that people are fearing today. So what happens, that you find that, okay, your children are not eating good food in the Anganwadi, in the midday meal. What you did, you just clicked a photograph of the midday meal scheme, and you all of a sudden post it on your social media, and it becomes viral. In most of the cases, you can say that people got arrested, journalists got arrested for doing this kind of a idea that, oh, they already placed the bad food and that's how they were basically recording. But ultimately, the idea is this, that people at the different level, they are mobilizing and they are using these direct channels of communication, and many times they want to embarrass public officials or other officials as well, or many times even consumer rights as well. I have found many journalists who are saying that, okay, the Indigo crisis, let's see how it unfolded on the social media. Of course, in that case, the idea was to name and shame a private company. Okay, so now the digitally mediated services, one is of course the consumer rights, and another is of course these civil, political, and the social and economic rights. They are very much mediated through the digital media today, and many people are doing that at various level. In many ways, the idea is, again, many times it's happening that people are forming those, small YouTube channels, those small Facebook pages, which were only talking about, they are forming it as a hyper local media. They're only talking about the local grievances, individual grievances, about migrant workers, about marginalized groups. And they are basically, what they are basically doing here is this, that they are putting their claims there. They are basically talking about it. And in the comment section, in many of these Facebook and others, you find that people are forming communities. They are saying that we will basically make claims on the state, or we will make claims. I would like to ask this particular rights, Narega rights, or some other forms of rights through these digital media, because somehow if I'm writing by pen, many times that is not working. So what I will do, I will click a photograph of my complaint and put it on Instagram. That I have already submitted a complaint to the local area and they are not listening to me. So as you can see, the digitally mediated rights of all these civil rights, political rights, and social and economic rights are happening today. And many times the idea is coming up that you can't be the anonymous voter anymore, the way we initially imagined. Many times people are being asked that you identify yourself. And you identify yourself how? More and more, you can say, apps are basically asking you to identify yourself with the Aadhaar. Okay, that has become the basis for your identity, and that, unless and until you don't recognize yourself, okay, uh, as an anonymous voter, you don't have much right today. You have to be there with your identified voter and the identified citizen who's basically making the claim. So it is going both ways. That's why I brought the concept of the surveillance as well. That mere complaining on social media is not being enough. The way the different organizations are responding to this, that identify yourself, that then only we will do this and that.
Thank you so much, Adil. I think you have responded to most of the all the questions that have come in during the registration. Uh, Perhaps these are the things that we keep discussing throughout our coursework, teaching in the MA development program, and the projects that students keep on doing. I think at least two of my students are currently doing the projects related to citizenship and rights, and one of the students is doing on the digital media platforms, how citizens are using digital media platforms to negotiate the citizenship. So, on that note, I would end the session today. Thank you so much. Thank you, audience. For more information about the programs that Azim Prem University is offering, and different, when I say programs, we offer different postgraduate, undergraduate, and professional development programs for working professionals. You will find the details on our website. Currently, our second round of admission cycle is going on with respect for the different for regular programs that we offer on campus, on multiple campuses. So we currently are operating from three campuses. One in Bangalore, one is in Bhopal, and one is in Ranchi. You will find all the details about the admissions to these programs on the website. You can log into the website, and also you will find details about the upcoming events, various such webinars, and on different topics, from plant related health to public health. You will find everything. The events are related to every topic that you might find it interesting. So just log on to our website, or you can follow us on various social media platforms. Yes, we are also there on social media platforms. You can follow us there. Thank you. Thank you all.
The master class, Pratiti was saying that we also have to.
Okay. So, yes, we are also launching a masterclass series in January, where you will be finding where faculty colleagues will be discussing various, taking lectures on select topics that are related to development. You will find you please you will find the details on the website soon. You can register for the masterclass. That will be more a closed group classroom, online virtual classroom. So you will have you will find the details online. You can log in there. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.